we kind of suppress it, and then by the time we have an opportunity, we don't feel like we have to at that point. So they're all based on nervous system reflexes, and that's the mechanical type of digestion that goes on. The chemical digestion is kind of easy. On the chemical level, we have already absorbed most of the nutrients. There's not a lot left that we have here. But on a chemical level, if some proteins or some carb material makes it down, we're not dealing with fats at this point. We don't have the lacteals. But if you have some of that there, the chemical digestion that would take place here, we're looking primarily at carbs and proteins. And what is going to happen, it's going to be via bacteria. It's a bacterial digestion. There's no enzymes. We're not going to add any more enzymes. There's no more ACEs here. We don't have any more amylases or lipases or protein. We don't have any of that stuff. It's bacteria that does it. We have somewhere, they estimate, and it varies, about 3 to maybe 5 pounds of bacteria that live in our large intestine. They like it there. We don't mind having them there. It's what we term a symbiotic relationship. We give them a warm, dark, moist place to live and multiply, and they will help digest some foods. But what they also do, these bacteria, what they're going to do, they also produce B vitamins. So they make B vitamins for us, those bacteria, and also vitamin K. It's a nice little relationship. They do some digestion and things. Now you can run into some problems. I mean, if you eat a very high carbohydrate meal, and some of those carbs get down into that large intestine, those of you that have taken microbiology know that microbes, when they grab hold of carbs, they ferment carbs. And when you ferment something, it gives off gases, and when it gives off gases, that gas has to be released somewhere. So there is some truth to if you eat a lot of beans, or you eat onions, or if you don't believe me, if you have a big dog at home, go home, just flip them a couple pieces of bread, and then later on clear out of the house. The dog's going to let you know that you gave them carbs and that the bacteria is digesting it later on. So we get a lot of gas. We'll get gas with that if we have a lot of food that gets down there. The food in the large intestine, now this varies quite a bit. We're looking at maybe somewhere between 3 to 10 hours. It varies from individual to individual. So there's quite a big range there for the food to be in the large intestine. Again, it depends on what you're eating, your general diet, roughage, if you're taking probiotics, prebiotics, and such. So some of the folks, I don't need to know your personal habits, but some people in here maybe have 1 bowel movement a day. Maybe some of you have 2 smaller bowel movements. Maybe somebody have 3 smaller movements. Then maybe somebody that goes every other day. It varies. We just don't want to not go that often. The longer the feces stays in the intestines, the more time you're giving toxins in it against the wall of the intestine to be absorbed. We want to try to get at waste products. I mean, when we talk about our fecal material, the feces themselves, obviously there's a little water we saw that's in there. There are definitely epithelial cells. As the gentleman mentioned, as we get down into the anal rectal area, we go back to stratified squamous, and the upper level of cells can get stripped off, so we have that. So we'll have water, there's epithelial cells that we have. We have some undigested material, so there's undigested material. There's also what we would term indigestible material. There's things that we can't digest. Human beings cannot digest plants at all. We do not make enzymes. We don't make cellulase. You need cellulase to digest the plant. We don't make it. What we do is we get the nutrients out of the liquid in the plant. The actual plant material we can't digest. It's roughage, which is good for us, but you're not going to digest it itself. And some things we don't digest well at all, as you're kind of aware, not to gross people out, but just something we're all familiar. If you've ever eaten corn, or corn on the cob, it goes in that way and comes out the same way in your feces. We don't digest it at all. So there's just certain things like that. So sometimes in your feces you will see certain planty material or things. We don't get rid of it. And in here, so we have water, we have undigested material, indigestible material, and this and that. And there's also quite a bit of bacteria. There's a lot of bacteria. Bacteria replicates really quick. Those of you that have taken micro know how fast bacteria replicates, so it's not even a problem whatsoever. And so it will vary 3 to 10 hours. And then the last phase that we finally come to, so we can get out of the chapter here, the very last phase is the last one of our different processes when we started this, the 6 processes, and that would be the process of elimination, or what you and I more commonly know as defecation. Elimination or defecation. The feces has made its way down into the rectum area. The rectum begins to stretch like any other area, and you start to get contractions, muscular contractions of the smooth muscle. And it begins to push that food down into the, or the feces, I should say, down into the anal canal toward the anus. And we do have here, we have 2 sphincters in this area. We've seen sphincters all along. Well, we have our last 2 sphincters at this point. We have an internal anal sphincter. There's an internal anal sphincter. Some books will call it the deep anal sphincter. That's fine also, internal or deep anal sphincter. And then we have an external, or some books will call it a superficial anal sphincter. So there's a deep anal sphincter and a superficial. I like internal, external works better. The internal anal sphincter is made up, this goes back to chapter 10 of Anatomy 1. This is made of smooth muscle. And you remember smooth muscle was involuntary. We don't have conscious control over that. And so as the feces gets down there, begins to stretch the rectum anal canal area, they contract, it pushes down the feces, puts pressure on the internal anal sphincter, and it's going to start to relax. And you're, okay, I feel like I have to go to the bathroom. Well, fortunately, your parents potty trained you and everything, and we have an external anal sphincter, and that's made up of skeletal muscle. And that would be voluntary, so we're able to make it to the ladies' room or to the men's room, and we can relax that sphincter. We apply a little bit of gentle abdominal pressure, plus the contractions of the large intestine down there. We have a bowel movement, and you're all done. Everything's all finished at that point. And that's what the bathroom is for at the end, is just to go to the bathroom and get out of there. Unfortunately, on the men end of it, men call it the most private room in the house, so they usually got the magazine under their arm or a newspaper, and they disappear for a while. Just go and do your business. Go ahead and get out of there. You don't need to be in there all the time. Sitting there, you're stretching your muscles, and you'll end up with the hemorrhoids anyhow at that point. You're sitting there. So we finally finished the chapter. I told you the first day was going to be rather long, real long chapter. But we got it all done, so hopefully it makes some sense to everybody. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions right now, but I do want to segue a little bit into metabolism. Yes?
Like what you said with like appendix and like GI issues, with PCR, we get a lot of kids that like are constipated in situations because like if they feel the need to and then like it hurts, they just
They suppress it, yeah.
So we've had kids that are like impacted and like you literally see the ultrasound and it's like they're full.
Yeah.
They have to get surgery. Why is that? Because there's no way that
There's no way it's going to move along. If it's impacted, you have impacted feces, yeah, you're not going to move along. It's like having cement or something in there that's just hardened up inside of it. Because the longer it stays, you keep absorbing water out of it, absorbing water out of it. It gets drier and drier and drier. No, it just kind of backs up around. Yeah, little kids sometimes you'll often find that they just suppress that urge to have a bowel movement or something. None of you are ever going to meet my son at all, but he didn't have that issue. But when he was a little guy, he was one of these guys. He was like that. You'd say, the pediatrician would say, you might have to use a suppository or something. Yeah, now I can't get him out of the bathroom. I mean, everything disappears. It's like, come on, we got to get in there, and I got to get to work or something. So, yeah, but it does happen. That's when it becomes much more severe. It's drying out more and more. Plus, it's leaving that feces in contact with the intestinal wall, so you can actually begin to absorb toxins into your blood from there. Yeah, we need to have regular bowel movements. Again, a lot of things is the lifestyle. I mean, my brother for many years commuted. You probably have family members used to come in the city. You never know. You say, okay, yeah, I got a half-hour trip into the city most of the time. And then one day you're stuck on a bus for 2 hours trying to get into the city, and you got to go to the bathroom. And you start to suppress it. So it does. Our lifestyles can change it quite a bit. Yeah, that's what. Yes. Oh, I don't even know about the death of Elvis Presley.
That was because they had him on, like, not his, so you know how like opiates can cause like severe constipation?
Right.
He was on medication that was supposed to be keeping him also asleep. He was also obese, and then also he pushed so hard that I think he gave himself a heart attack.
That I don't know. I don't know. I never really, I don't know. I just don't even know. I thought he was alive. Look, people spotted him around the United States all the time. I'm honest, I don't know, yeah, you're not familiar with his case or autopsy or anything at all, yeah, so, I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand, not just, I don't understand any of those folks out there that, they have, we always say, gee, I wish I had all that. They're never happy, I mean, they're all on drugs and stuff. You say, how many actors or actresses in the past year you read about them dying with drugs and alcohol, and you go, you got like the world here, and I don't know. I saw another hand, yeah.
I wasn't here on the first thing, but one of the review questions is three basic parts. Would that be the crown, neck, and root?
Oh, three basic parts of you weren't here for it? Yeah, that would be the crown is the visible portion covered by enamel. There's the root or roots that fits down into the alveolar bone, and then the neck is just a junction between the two of them, the crown, root, and neck.
And one more.
Yeah, I saw your email earlier. I didn't have a chance to respond when I got here today.
Yeah, the six digestive process. I wasn't here, so like.
Yeah, six digestive
Google it.
processes. Oh, you didn't get notes from somebody? Nobody shared their notes with you? Six digestive processes. Yeah, we had ingestion. There was secretion. There's mixing and movement. There's digestion, absorption, and elimination. So it's right. That was them. I think it was the one. Yeah, ingestion, secretion, mixing and movement, digestion. There's mechanical, chemical, absorption, and then we just finished with elimination. That's a fair question. That's okay. Yes. Now, you ladies in the back gotta speak up. Number one, I'm a male, I'm old, I've lost all the high frequencies of my hearing, and I have tinnitus on top of it, so.
So just out of curiosity, I as well work in pediatrics,
Right.
and there's a lot of kids that come in that don't have bowel movements for 2 to 3 days. Is there any, just like, I'm curious, is there anything that parents can do in their diet to help them?
I mean, I don't know, I mean, other than, obviously, they should have good water intake, number one. They need to have a lot of water. They should have roughage in their diet, which you get from plant material. Most kids, I don't know too many kids that are dying to eat fruits and vegetables. It's not on the top of their hit parade. They want to cut back on refined carbohydrates. I mean, think about something just like, it's not that it's bad, but think about something like oatmeal. Imagine, you see oatmeal when it starts to dry out, and you gotta get it out of the cup. The less moisture you have, the less roughage that you have, makes it harder. But I don't know, it's probably, children, they do make probiotics and such for children that they can,
It's very common.
Yeah.
For kids to just kind of.
right. I think it's also, like I said, our diet is so refined that we don't eat a lot of fresh fruits, vegetables. We don't eat a lot of, we eat everything that's sort of microwavable, prepackaged, and that type of stuff. It's morning time, so we eat breakfast. But I'm saying, it's easier for the person to rip open a bag of oatmeal, throw it in the bowl, and put a half a cup of hot water in it, boiling water in it. That's not oatmeal. That's just junk in there. It's like paste. It's glue. You put that on a bag of paper and stick it to the wall or something. And then if you were going to make the steel cut oats takes 35 minutes to cook up, unless you know the sneaky ways of doing it and shorten it up quite a bit to do that. And also label-wise, if you look at the stuff in the package you put there, it's got a lot of additives in it. Oatmeal should have oats in there. I cheat. I found a sneaky way online. Some woman was showing with the steel cut oats. You boil the water the night before, put the oats in there for about a minute or two, stir it up, take it off the heat, put it on the side. By the time you come up the next morning, it's already cooked. You just got to heat it up a little bit. So you have to wait 35, 40 minutes to cook it. That's a long time.
So another question, we get a lot of patients too that come in with ruled out appendicitis, but most of them aren't. So why is it that pediatricians get it wrong all the time? If it's seems to be just a simple.
I don't know. I don't know why they get it wrong. I don't know what they're getting wrong. I'm assuming they do a blood test and they find if you have somebody that's 25,000 white blood cells, not 5 to 10,000 range, you got an infection going on. So I don't know what they're seeing or not seeing.
Vomiting and lower right quadrant abdominal pain, that's 9 times why they see it, or a fever, like you said.
I'm not sure with that. Just as an aside, that lower right quadrant pain, people who have diverticulitis, over left quadrant pain, the opposite side, because you're getting it in the descending colon
Yeah, in the
portion.
triage, that's always the spots that they.
Yeah, you're checking down there. Yeah, but I'm not sure why. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm really not sure why. Oh, what I started in the beginning? That was absorption. That was the heading where I had all the glucose, galactose, fructose, and going across. That was just the heading of absorption. All absorption, what we're talking about. Yeah. All right, so quickly, let me just start to introduce a little bit to chapter 25. You have notes for chapter 25, which I had sent you. And I had asked you to print those out of it or have them available on the fancy tablets, computers, and everything else that you have around here. 25 deals, we're not gonna get into it heavily, but 25 deals with metabolism. Let me see if I can pull some stuff up, probably knocked me out of this freaking thing. Ugh.
So is it this that just says metabolism?
This says metabolism, yep, that's the one, this says metabolism. All right, anyhow, we're gonna be getting into metabolism deals with what do we do with those nutrients that we just absorbed, the glucose, galactose, and fructose, the amino acids, the long-chain fatty, short-chain fatty acids, medium-chain fatty acids, and then the triglycerides. What do we do with that? Well, on those sheets, it just starts off in the beginning with just some background information. I mean, most of us eat. I think most of us in this room eat. You eat from time to time. And there's a reason for that. I mean, you know, obviously it's nice to eat, food tastes good, but there's actually an area in our brain, in the hypothalamus area, that we'll discuss in chapter 14, which does a lot to hypothalamus. There's two centers there. There's one that's called we call it either the feeding or the hunger center, and then there's another center that's called the satiety center. The hunger center is an area that constantly sends out impulses. You're hungry, you're hungry, you're hungry. It's just all the time sending this out there. Fortunately, we have a satiety center, and when the satiety center kicks in, it turns off the hunger center and says that we're satisfied. Satiety deals with satiated or being satisfied. And they don't do them anymore. Way back, 1920s or so, 30s, they did experiments on animals, destroyed the satiety center, and they would give animals food. They basically eat themselves to death. The rat would eat it. They wouldn't know that it's satisfied. And so we know that we have these centers. Well, that hunger center is always firing off, and we have the satiety center that turns it off temporarily. Well, the satiety center is actually affected by 6 different things. One of the things that affects the satiety center are blood glucose levels. We refer to that as a glucostatic theory. As the blood glucose levels come up, you get hungry, you're hungry, you're hungry, you go to the donut shop, you get your Krispy Kremes, and you're eating that, and all of a sudden your satiety center comes on and turns off the hunger center for a while, because the blood glucose levels came up. The unfortunate thing is, I keep mentioning, is we eat too many refined carbs in the United States, so the blood sugar goes up, and you're okay for a while, but then that blood sugar rockets down when insulin comes out, and we're hungry again, and we go eat some more. So glucose will definitely affect it. We also have something called the lipostatic theory, fats. Fats are important in the diet. They're a great source of energy. They're a dense food of fat, a lot of calories in it. So when we eat fats, the fat level in the blood will also turn on that satiety center, and it turns off the hunger center. So if you have some fat in your diet, that's why you could get a big pasta bowl of Captain Crunch and eat it, and you might feel full for a while. That's a carb, but it's gonna go away real quick, and yet you might make yourself a piece of fried breakfast meat, whatever you like, and a fried egg or something, and it doesn't seem as much, but you feel satisfied much longer because of the fats that were in there, and it turns on the satiety center much longer. So we certainly have those 2 aspects of things, and then they're mentioned on the sheet over there. I have them mention it. The third thing that affects that part of the brain is poor body temperature. As a matter of fact, in the hypothalamus, where we find the hunger center and the satiety center, that's also the area of the brain where we maintain our body temperature, regulates body temperature in there. I know we went through all this BS with nonsense. I can't even read anymore about how, you know what it is? There's something about when you've been bamboozled and then you realize that someone pulled something on you, nobody wants to admit it anymore. So it's kind of unfortunately disappearing. I'd like to see every one of them go to prison that pushed over this. But they went through the whole thing with the take your temperature. Those things are absolutely worthless. I mean, the temperature reading off of that it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Obviously, you can take a thermometer in the mouth, and you have a little baby, you can take a reading back there, and you get a good reading. But they still make them. They make the scanners that go in the ear that take a reading off the eardrum. And the doctor that invented that because he theorized if you could draw like a dotted line through both ears where they would intersect would be right in the hypothalamus is where the thermostat in the body sits. So he figured, I'm gonna get as close to that to get a reading. So poor body temperature affects the hypothalamus, and you're aware of it. We live in New Jersey. You come in and you work outside in the summer, or you come in on a really hot, humid day, and you come home and someone says, what do you want for dinner tonight? You're like, absolutely nothing. I'm taking a shower, I'm going in the bedroom and putting the air conditioner on minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit. There's gonna be an ice cube in there later on. You don't wanna eat, you have a fever. You don't wanna eat when you have a fever. Heat will turn those centers off, you're not gonna wanna eat. Whereas unfortunately, cold does the opposite. When our body's cooler, it turns on the hunger center. So during the winter months like now, it's colder. And we haven't seen the sun, I think, since December 23rd or something. I mean, it hasn't been sunny out of the whole month of January was overcast, terrible. So we eat a little bit more, and then the next thing you know, it's gonna be April, and you're gonna get some beautiful days, and you're gonna go, wow, it's nice out there. Let me grab my shorts out of the drawer, and you'll get in, you go, they don't fit anymore. What happened around here? We've been eating the whole winter long. Cold, so that'll actually affect it on both ends of those things. So that's another one that I mentioned on the sheets there. I mentioned body temperature on it. Obviously, distension of the GI tract. It reaches a point where you can't put any more in there. You know, you've had your second, third plate, and grandma's yelling at you. You're so skinny, you don't like my food. You go, Grandma, I had 3 plates of it, or I can't fit any more in me. And you just don't like my food. You know, you have that kind of grandmother. You know what they're like. So you get to Thanksgiving, you can only eat so much. You say, no, I can't, I'm sorry. This is the old famous, loosen a notch on your belt. It does happen. That's distension of the GI tract. Sends a message to the brain gets its satiety center, says, oh, they ate a lot, that stomach is good. I'll turn on the satiety center and I'll shut off the hunger center. CCK, now CCK is cholecystokinin. It's a hormone that's made by the enteroendocrine cells in the small intestine. CCK gets released when we eat high-fat meals. So it kind of goes along with the lipostatic theory, but it's a hormone. Hormones travel around in the bloodstream. So that blood does get to your brain, and when it hits the hypothalamus goes, that's high CCK. They ate a high-fat meal. They ate a real high-fat meal because the gallbladder just contracted. And it says, okay, I got the hunger center, I'll turn it off, I'll turn on the satiety center, and you'll feel satisfied. And then the last one I have on here, I think I put down psychological reasons. Psychological reasons or emotional reasons you could put, and there's no rhyme or reason to any of that, I'll be honest. It can affect people differently. So somebody that's under a lot of stress may be eating more. Somebody that's under a lot of stress eats less. I don't know, maybe, I don't know you personally, maybe somebody in here you're in love. I'm in love, I can't eat a thing, I'm in love and somebody else is eating. They usually say if a guy really likes you, if you go out for dinner, then he'll wipe his whole plate clean, start picking off of yours. I mean, that's a good sign. If he doesn't eat, I don't know, that's a bad sign. So anyhow, there's those reasons. Psychology, we eat just for psychological reasons anyhow. I think an average, I don't know what your schedule is, but if you eat at 6 o'clock and sit down for your dinner 6 o'clock, you're done at 7, a little after 7, you start cleaning up and everything, and you go in to watch a movie, a sports event, and it's 8 o'clock, you finish at 7 or it's 8:30, and you're back in your cupboard and you're looking, where's that big tub of Dutch cheese balls? Okay, there it is, I gotta go. Your stomach hasn't even emptied yet. It's psychological. Or your television, they come on, they're kind of funny, that group with the Wendy's crew, they got all the characters, Wendy's Baconator on a pretzel burger, like, that looks kind of good over there, that's psychological. We eat because we see it. It's not that we're really, really hungry. I mean, when you're doing something, we're all done that, but when you're doing something that you really enjoy, you're busy doing something, sometimes you lose track. I mean, you say, gee, I haven't had anything to eat since breakfast, but you were having a good day, you were doing something fun. Psychologically, we tend to eat a lot. And then the last thing on there just mentions what we're going to be talking a little bit about. We're going to be talking about carbs, we're going to talk about proteins and lipids. They're all nutrients. There's vitamins, minerals, water. They're all nutrients. And in metabolism is all the chemistry going on in our body. We'll pick this up on the Tuesday next week, and we'll get this done one shot. We're going to get this out of the way, and we'll probably segue into a little bit with the urinary system, chapter 26. But we're going to go through it just so you know. any questions on the review sheets that you have that deal with chapter 25, the answers are all on those sheets. I'm not gonna be giving any notes, that's the notes for chapter 25. I'm trying to keep it a little simpler because it's biochemistry, which is interesting, but if you haven't had regular inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry, biochemistry is hard to understand. So, have a nice weekend. I know that today's only Thursday, but be safe. I did send an attendance list around. It's who got the attendance list? All right, if you need it, it's down in the front corner. Did it ever make it back that way? Okay, so make sure you get yourself checked in and be safe. God